We can see the defined function with the function validate well reservoir, followed by two input functions asking for the name and location of the well from the users. The program will then ask the users to input the well depth in meters, well production rate of barrels, and the well pressure in PSI. The try and accept function is to check whether the input of the user is afloat or not. If it is afloat, then the program will continue, and if it is not, then the program will print invalid input and will return to the first part of the program, thus explaining the return function. We can see the two variables that correspond as true for acceptable and an empty list as validation errors. The following are the conditional statements that are going to state the validation errors. The conditions will have the acceptable function as a false statement and will use the append function to display the validation errors in the empty list. The first condition is that the depth should be equal or greater than 500 and equal or less than 4,000 meters, while the second condition is that the production rate should be equal or greater than 50 and equal or less than 2,000 barrels per day. And lastly, the final condition is that the pressure should be equal or greater than 1,000 and equal or less than 10,000 pounds per square inches. If the input of the users weren't able to meet these conditions, then it will be read by the program as a validation error and will display the requirements for that specific characteristics of the reservoir. The program will print the well name and location and say that it is not acceptable and will show the validation errors.
Like for the depth, if the input was invalid, then the program will print depth must be between 500 and 4,000 meters. For the production rate, the program will print production rate must be between 50 and 2,000 barrels per day. And for the pressure, the program will print pressure must be between 1,000 and 10,000 pounds per square inches. The system will then ask the users to input the reservoir type, whether they are oil, gas, or water. But if the input of the user is not within the given options, then the program will print invalid reservoir type. Please enter oil, gas, or water. Then the system will return to the first program. But if the conditions are met for the depth, pressure, production rate, and the reservoir type, the program will tell that the well reservoir is accepted and will return to the first program. This is the main program. We also used a defined function here to call the main function. The following is indented because it is within a defined function. The use of a while loop is evident here. This part is where the users will choose between two things, which is the well validation program or to exit the program itself as options 1 and 2. If the users chose 1, then the program will call the validate underscore well underscore reservoir function explained earlier. And if the users chose 2, then the program will display exiting the system and will end the program, thus explaining the break function. And if the users type other things, then the program will print invalid choice, please try again, and will return to the first part. And lastly, the main in the bottom is to call the main program.